So moving on to this morning's session, we're going to start with a little bit of context and background for the Network Plus, and a bit about what the project's aiming to achieve. And then we'll go on to hear from some members of the community that have experience of Federation, of various aspects of Federation, and they're going to share some of that experience with us to help us with the thinking about the content of the Network Plus. We've tried to allow plenty of time for questions and discussion in the programme after the talks, so please do save your questions to after the talks. And please, can I ask that if you have a question to ask, please use the microphones for those in the room, so that'll ensure that those online can hear the questions that are being asked. So to get us started, I will hand over to Sophie Janacek, who's head of the Digital Research Infrastructure Programme at UKRI. It's going to give us some of the background to the Network Plus. So Sophie, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Just checking. Yeah, you can hear me. Yes. So welcome again to the launch of the National Federated Compute Services Network Plus, which I'll henceforth call the Network Plus project to save a bit of time in my presentation. And I work for UKRI as head of the DRI programme, as Adrian mentioned. And today I'm here really just to give a bit of context and where this project sits in terms of digital infrastructure in UKRI's ambitions. So starting off at a very, very high level, you'll all be more aware than I of this because I'm not a technical expert in this area, but there are significant global trends at the moment in compute. Really fast pace. We're now entering the post-exascale era. There's increasing heterogeneity, and there's an increasing gap as well between the frontier, the cutting edge, and the tier below this. Because of the fast pace and because of the opportunities in this area that we've seen considerable government interest. So just within the past couple of years, we saw the release of the recommendations from the Future of Compute Review. And then only this year, we've seen the AI Opportunities Action Plan published. And currently, the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology are working on a compute strategy. So significant interest there. From the UKRI side of things, this is a snapshot of where we are at the moment in terms of UKRI compute provision. Now, this is at a very high level. I think the important thing to note here, and that you'll see from the slide and when we're out talking to the community, is that we are entering a time where some of the larger systems are entering their end-of-life phase. And just to reassure you that we want to continue provision in this space, and this is something that's really a huge amount of work going on behind the scenes at the moment within UKRI in terms of spending review. So that's the process where we bid into government to get funding for our infrastructure. There's a lot of work going on in this space, so it's something we're aware of and actively working on. So what we can talk about that's a bit more concrete. So I'd like to just mention the AI research resource, in case some of you aren't aware. So there are two systems comprising this, Isambard and Dawn at Bristol and Cambridge. And there are people here during this meeting from those systems if you want to have a chat to them about it. And I think they're giving some presentations as well. There's an expression of interest to use these systems available now. So please check out the website if you would be interested in that. And another update, just to raise awareness that as of May 2024, UK is a full member of the EuroHPC, and people are eligible in the UK to apply for this. So again, please take a look at that link if you might be interested. So moving back a bit more towards kind of UKRI and what's the UKRI approach to large-scale compute. So UKRI really views large-scale compute as part of a wider DRI, digital research infrastructure ecosystem. And UKRI recognises that you can't just build computers, you can't just have that raw compute power. Really, effective use depends on high-quality software, access mechanisms, things like matching workflows to architectures, and crucially people as well. So you need skilled DRI professionals. This is a term that we sometimes use to really encompass everyone who works in that digital space. You need really good quality service provision. And you also need knowledgeable users and communities as well. So you need researchers and innovators to understand what's available to them and how to make best use of it. As part of this approach, a few years ago, UKRI wrote up a strategy for digital research infrastructure. And the vision is really one where there's a national DRI that will seamlessly connect researchers to the tools that they need, be this compute, data, software techniques. And as you'll see today, the Network Plus project really is a strong part of this, that seamless connection of researchers to what they need in terms of compute. And how do we aim to get there? Well, the UKRI approach is to, in some cases, evolve existing infrastructures to support new communities of practice, and where we can, also funding new capabilities as well. Last year, we published 4 new priorities for the programme. So those are the coloured boxes there. The first one is interconnected DRI, and the Network Plus project is a really important part of that. I'll talk about that more in the next slide. The other priorities are human DRI, so that's taking into account the needs of the users as well as the people who are critical in supporting the infrastructure and supporting use of the infrastructure. Fair DRI, so that's findable, accessible, interoperable and reusable DRI that supports the fair data principles. And then finally, sustainable DRI. And here we're talking about meeting net zero ambitions, but also ensuring that continuity and sustainability of service. So a bit more about the interconnected DRI priority. The aim of this is to break down any existing silos and really promote collaboration across the landscape with the aim of creating more interconnected, inclusive and user-friendly infrastructure. And that's something that the Network Plus project is really crucial for. And to get there, this will involve fostering community engagement with meetings like this, and then also promoting the creation of federated infrastructure. And finally, tackling what's quite a big challenge, the ability to work across disciplines as well. And the Network Plus project that you'll hear about today is part of a suite of activities that are funded through the DRI programme. So a couple of years ago, through our governance process, we funded 36 different projects. These take a whole range of sizes and scales. So the Network Plus project is a large one of those. Some of them are as small as, 50 or 100K. And these are really kind of scoping and pilot work. So this slide just gives a flavour of the types of things we've been doing. And a major part of that is launching funding for a net zero DRI project. So that's the Net Drive project, if you've heard of it. Last year, there were some calls for Network Plus activities for research technical professionals. And then also this project was funded on a Federation of Compute Services. Other activities you might be interested in. So the programme funded the new Isambard 3 machine. So this is the first compute service available to all UKRI's communities. And that's really where we want to get to. We want to evolve the compute to be able to support all UKRI communities. And there was also other activities. We commissioned JISC to write a report on federating digital research infrastructure. And there was also the start of development of a living library of open source compute benchmarks as well. So kind of zooming in a bit more on this specific project, this where we are at the moment in terms of the compute landscape that UKRI funds, we're at an inflection point. So historically, the research councils might have funded compute services which are more focused towards their communities and particular disciplines. And we really want to evolve this towards the arrows on the right-hand side there, towards national computational research services. And the idea is that these would serve all UKRI communities, like some of the newer services I talked about. And you'll see on the right there, there's still what will obviously be institutional and that specialist compute, as well as the international partnerships. But then there'll be these national research services. And as part of that, there will be next generation compute, so really compute at the forefront, as well as capability compute. And that dotted line is the line of federation, I guess, around all of these. And that's something that the Network Plus project will build a roadmap to get to, basically. And obviously, we'll get there by investments in various things, which are in the grey box at the middle. But that's where this project sits. It's really about building a roadmap for how we get to those national research services in terms of federation. Just to finish, a few kind of specific objectives of the project. So the primary objective is really to scope how current and new compute services can act as that really across UKRI community federated service, like in the previous slide. And to get there, there'll be part of the project is to explore some of the challenges and the knowledge gaps on the pathway to federation. And the end goal will be to produce a roadmap for federated provision of compute services, and that will inform investments and other activities that need to be done in the future. Alongside this, we'll also be scoping the data storage needs for the service, data storage being a crucial part of compute. And then the project will also be acting as a DRI Network Plus. So Network Plus is a fairly common kind of UKRI funding mechanism, and it's really about community building, bringing people together. There are a few other activities in this space, and so this network will be strongly interlinked with those as well. And then the final 2 points. So the project will be considering how federation can really expand that user base and bring the potential for compute to as many users in the UK as possible. And throughout the project, there will be careful consideration and embedding of environmental sustainability as well. Okay, that's it from me. I don't know if there's any questions, if you've got time, or pass over to John.
Yeah, we've got time for a few questions if anybody's got any.
So thank you for that. That was very interesting. I've got a couple of questions, but I think you answered one about the international collaborations already. So presumably you're working with partners in Europe and the US. The real question is, and I know I'm coming from UKAEA, which is under DESNES. Is there any provision in this for industrial usage of the facilities you're providing?
In terms of the project itself, or
yeah,
yes, that's a part of the project. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If not, thank you, Sophie.
Thank you.